Hello guys and welcome back to Strawberry Inc. Today I will be discussing a case involving an autistic child. Let's get right into it. Joe Clyde Daniels was a 5-year-old boy from Dixon, Tennessee. He was the youngest of 3 children and had been diagnosed with autism. He was low functioning and often unable to speak. Joseph Clyde, also known as Baby Joe, lived in a home with his parents, 2 older brothers, and his 2 grandparents, who were parents of his father. The other grandparents of his mother's side lived in a different state. On the night of April 3rd, 2018, Baby Joe was home with his brothers, mother Krystal Daniels, and stepfather Joseph Ray Daniels. His aunt Joyce was also staying at the home that night. On the night of April 3rd, 2018, Baby Joe was home with his brothers, mother Krystal Daniels, and father Joseph Ray Daniels. His aunt Joyce was also staying that night, but only temporarily. Baby Joe's grandfather, known as Big Joe, was a truck driver and had been working on a trip to Texas that night. His grandmother had also gone on this trip to give Big Joe company. Therefore, Baby Joe was alone at home with his parents, siblings, and aunt. On this night, the parents were watching TV, the aunt was relaxing in bed reading, and the kids were sleeping. Baby Joe got out of bed and peed on the carpet floor. His brother Alex noticed that and went to tell their parents. Joseph Ray Daniels walked into the room and beat Baby Joe, then took him out. Alex and his other brother Noah went back to bed. Suddenly, they heard a loud bang. Father Joseph Ray Daniels had beat his son Baby Joe to death and swung him, slamming his head on the house's dry walls. Alex went to check what had happened and saw his father on his knees holding Baby Joe. The father threatened to kill Alex if he didn't help clean up Baby Joe's mess. While Alex cleaned, Father Joseph Ray put Baby Joe's dead body in a garbage bag and drove off. He dumped his son's body in a nearby cornfield and returned home. Joseph Ray then told Alex that Baby Joe had run away. The following morning, Joseph Ray called the police, saying that his son had vanished. An Amber Alert was issued, and a search to find him started. During this time, Joseph Ray, who worked as an IT, was applying for a new job and requested his curriculum from the community college that he graduated from. The Dixon County Sheriff's Office interviewed those who knew Baby Joe. They were made aware that he had strong autism, making it highly unlikely that he would have run away. Nobody who lived around the family had claimed to see Baby Joe running away. This led the sheriff's office to have them stop by the Dixon police station to interrogate them. Detectives worked with Baby Joe's brother, Alex, so he would tell the truth to them about what may have happened. Detectives worked with Baby Joe's brother, Alex, so he would tell the truth to them about what may have happened. Alex told them that he witnessed their father carrying Baby Joe's body and put it in a trash bag after beating him for peeing on the floor. This led the detectives to believe that Baby Joe was killed by his father, Joseph Ray Daniels. Agents of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, also known as TBI, started looking into the case to investigate a possible homicide. Joseph Ray was then interrogated by TBI agent Joey Boyd and claimed that he was unaware of what happened to Baby Joe. He was then told to tell the truth about what happened to help them out. At this point, Joseph Ray started crying uncontrollably. He finally told Boyd what happened and confessed to beating Baby Joe to death. He claimed that he told the kids to get their butts in bed and that Baby Joe laughed, so he beat him. Then Baby Joe ran outside the house to the front road and a car passed by. Joseph Ray said that at this point he ran outside, got Baby Joe back inside the house, beat him some more, punching him with a closed fist. He said that is when he killed him. He also told Agent Boyd that he drove to McElhenney Road in Tennessee City and got Baby Joe out of his pickup truck. He detailed how he left Baby Joe in the woods around a cornfield, saying that he had his wife's phone in his left hand to use it as a flashlight and used his right shoulder to carry Baby Joe. The TBI investigated who had been in that area at the time. This is usually done through antenna records that can detect cell phones that were in the area. Joseph Ray's wife, Krystal Daniels, was believed to have been with him while he was dumping Baby Joe's body. He also confirmed that he called 911 in the morning of April 4th to report Baby Joe missing. There was a McEwen, Tennessee resident who was believed to have driven past Garner Creek Road, which was where Baby Joe's family lived. The TBI called this person's phone number and he picked up. He was interviewed by them and told them that he did drive past Garner Creek Road that night. He claimed to have seen a person standing 10 to 15 feet from the road, wearing a skeleton t-shirt and who looked like a teenager. Next, the TBI contacted another person who seemed to have driven past that road. She also confirmed that she had driven past it. She claimed that she had observed a man standing next to the guardrail on the east side of the road. This person agreed to be interviewed by the TBI once they met. She was shown pictures of Joseph Ray Daniels and confirmed that this was the man she saw. At this point, the search for Baby Joe Clyde ended, and he was presumed dead. His father, Joseph Ray Daniels, was arrested after the interrogation and booked into the Dickson County Jail on a capital homicide charge. Dickson County Magistrate Shane Chandler ordered him to remain in jail without bail until he faced a state judge. Joseph Ray's wife, Krystal Daniels, claimed that he had intentionally caused the death of their son, Baby Joe. The TBI believed that she had neglected her child, failed to report the abuse, and helped her husband cover up the murder that had been committed. She was also arrested as well after being interrogated and booked into the Dickson County Jail on a charge of aggravated child neglect or endangerment. Magistrate Shane Chandler also ordered her to remain in jail without bail until she faced a state judge. Both had been placed in handcuffs after the interrogation at the police station. They were processed there and taken to jail afterwards. Another reason why they were kept incarcerated was due to them being a flight risk of covering up the crime even more. On April 13, 2018, both Krystal and Joseph Ray Daniels were arraigned in the Dickson County District Court. They pleaded not guilty to their charges, and their bond was set to $1 million to make sure that they would not be able to be released from jail due to the horrific crime they had been suspected of committing on their 5-year-old son. Without having a status conference, evidence was presented in court. There were text messages shown of Krystal Daniels chatting with a man named Thomas Richards, whom she had been flirting with. Josh Turnbow, the attorney in charge of prosecuting them, claimed that at the time Baby Joe was killed, Joseph Ray Daniels was already angry because he believed Krystal wanted to dump him for another man, and that he took disciplining Baby Joe too far. He also claimed that Krystal Daniels, indeed, covered up the murder that her husband had committed, and that she was aware of what she was doing. Prosecutor Turnbow requested that this case be presented to a grand jury in order to add more severe charges to the table. Jake Lockhart, the public defender of Joseph Ray Daniels, claimed that his client had nothing to do with the crime and that the confession to detectives was false. Lockhart believed that Joseph Ray was coerced at the moment and that he had recently taken his medication for bipolar disorder, which made him experience fatigue and brain fog. Tim Potter, the defense attorney of Krystal Daniels at the time, claimed that the allegations against her did not match or prove the crime that she was being charged with. David Wolf, the judge in the case, would shortly after remove Tim Potter and appoint a new public defender to her. This was due to Potter as well being the attorney representing Dickson County, Tennessee, and their sheriff's office, which would cause bias in the case. Krystal was appointed to a new public defender named Andrew Daugherty, a decision in which she agreed with. Another attorney was added to the case to prosecute Joseph Ray Daniels. That way, each of the two defendants would have an attorney prosecuting them. This new prosecutor was Ray Crouch. Both Joseph Ray Daniels and Krystal Daniels were transferred to state prisons for safekeeping due to safety concerns for high-profile inmates in the Dickson County Jail who would want to harm them. Joseph Ray was transferred to the prison in Nashville, Tennessee, known as the Riverbend Maximum Security Prison, and Krystal was transferred to the Tennessee Prison for Women, which is also in Nashville. Krystal was satisfied with the decision of being transferred out of the jail, but Joseph Ray was not. He appealed the decision 2 times, but his request got rejected and he remained in prison. The body of their son, Joe Clyde, was searched for 2 more times, but nothing was ever found, and it remains missing to this day. They were then appointed a court date at the Dickson County General Sessions Court in Charlotte, Tennessee, with Judge Craig Monsu. This hearing was held on June 4, 2018. The prosecutors were granted the chance to face a grand jury. On this month, the grand jury was selected, and hearings were held to seek more charges towards Joseph Ray and Krystal Daniels. The Dickson County grand jury indicted Krystal Daniels on charges of criminal responsibility, aggravated neglect, and filing a false report. Joseph Ray Daniels was indicted on charges of first-degree murder, felony murder, aggravated abuse, tampering with evidence, and filing a false report. After these charges were officially filed, both parents pleaded not guilty to them, and the case would continue. In October 2018, Joseph Ray Daniels sent a letter to his family with his initials, JD. In this letter, he claimed that baby Joe is still alive and that another man is involved in his disappearance. He also believed that Krystal Daniels packed baby Joe's clothes in a bag and left him on the side of the road. On July 1, 2019, Joseph Ray Daniels called his father, known as Big Joe, and told him that Krystal had killed baby Joe with a pillow, then threatened to kill him as well. On May 21, 2020, the TBI obtained a warrant to search the Daniels family home on Garners Creek Road. They found 26 bones and fragments. TBI agent Zachary Burkhart, with consent, collected video footage from the security camera of a nearby home, which took place the night that baby Joe vanished. There were lights throughout the night and dawn, but they did not seem to come from cars, and no vehicle was seen leaving their home the next morning. This meant that baby Joe's parents made no efforts to search for him. In April 2021, both parents were ruled competent to stand trial after mental exams. The prosecution chose to try them by their indictments and not by the charges that were initially filed when they were first arrested. They were granted separate trials due to the differences in their charges. The trial for Joseph Ray Daniels was set to begin in June 2021. He refused to take a plea deal and moved forward with his trial. Both sides of the parents' cases agreed to a change of venue. However, Judge David Wolf said that he could allow only jurors from outside the county, but that the trials had to stay inside the same courthouse. Due to all of the evidence against them, the charges could not be dropped. Judge Wolf as well allowed the media to live stream both trials. On June 1st, 2021, jury selection began for the trial of Joseph Ray Daniels. It was held at the Hamilton County Courthouse in Chattanooga, Tennessee, where Judge Wolf and the attorneys agreed to get their jurors. The following day, a 12-person jury was seated, and the evidence phase for the trial would begin on Wednesday of that week. Opening arguments were held on that Wednesday, and witnesses would be called throughout the week. Prosecutor Ray Crouch believed that Baby Joe's older brother Alex witnessed their father, Joseph Ray Daniels, beat him to death. He claimed that Joseph Ray then tried to cover up the murder to get away with it, acting as if his son had run away and left their house on his own. On the other hand, Joseph Ray's defense attorney, Jake Lockhart, claimed that his client did not kill his son and that the prosecution had no physical evidence which proved the murder that he was being accused of. He was also believed to lie about his son running away and that he had nothing to do with the disappearance. Videos of Joe Clyde in his elementary school, which were mainly about a lesson being taught to Baby Joe by his Centennial Elementary School speech therapist, Jessica Donnerstag. In this video, Baby Joe tries to count and also tries to prove the name of various objects in images that he was being shown, such as a ball or an apple. The speech therapist was called to testify. She claimed that Baby Joe was very funny, energetic, loved to eat, and had a pair of boots that he loved as well. She also mentioned that his parents were arguing over allegations of cheating on one another the night before he disappeared. Joseph Ray's father constantly wiped tears during the first day of the trial and cried as videos of his grandson were shown. The 911 call that Joseph Ray made reporting Baby Joe missing was as well shown. Chelsea Lampley, the dispatcher who took his call, testified that he seemed really calm when talking on the phone about his missing son. On the second day of the trial, Brent Morse, the Middle Tennessee Regional Director of the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency, testified. He mentioned how he went to the Daniels household and conducted a missing person questionnaire to the family that is conducted in all missing persons cases. Morse stated that as he was questioning family members in their home, Baby Joe's older brother Noah came into the room and yelled Baby Joe dead 3 times in a loud way. Baby Joe's aunt, known as Aunt Joyce, was heard saying, "Yes, baby, Joe dead." At this time, his parents were not in the room. Chad Bailey, the Special Operations Chief of the Maury County Emergency Management Office, was present during the interview. The defense also questioned Brent Morse, asking him more details about the discussion of the death of Baby Joe. Morse responded that the topic was brought up by him and it was brought up by family members. The next person to testify was Dickson County's K-9 deputy, Tim Simmons. Deputy Simmons said that he had his K-9 dog smell a piece of Baby Joe's clothing that was at the home, And then he had the dog track Baby Joe. The dog went to the Daniels family home's backyard, to their neighbor's pond, then headed to McElhenney Road, where Joseph Ray Daniels claimed during his interrogation that he left Baby Joe. This meant that this road was most likely the location where Baby Joe's body was dumped after his death. The body cam footage of Deputy Simmons was also shown. Simmons remained on the bench and continued to be questioned by the prosecution about details shown in this footage. One detail was that Baby Joe's parents left the home when law enforcement arrived to look for Baby Joe, which meant that these parents were avoiding any interaction with police officers or detectives. The court then adjourned for the day. On day 3 of the trial, the Dixon County Sheriff's Office's detective, Sarah McCartney, testified that she noticed Baby Joe's parents were not home, so she spoke with his brother, Alex, who said that he didn't really know what happened in the family home overnight when Baby Joe went missing. Alex had also told her that Baby Joe had peed on the floor, which was in the middle of the night, and that their father walked into the room about 10 minutes after Alex went to inform him about the incident. Investigators had asked their father to return to the family home, and he did so 10 minutes later. Detective McCartney said that the father, Joseph Ray Daniels, had asked the detectives to search his pickup truck's trunk. Joseph Ray is also believed to have suspected Baby Joe of opening the trunk and claimed that he's done that before. He also said that he didn't go anywhere that night. The defense then asked this detective more details on her interaction with Joseph Ray Daniels. She claimed that Joseph Ray volunteered to take detectives on a car ride to the location where he had been looking for Baby Joe. Detective McCartney also believed that he looked suspicious during his interactions with law enforcement. There was a recording shown of Joseph Ray speaking to detectives in this car ride, claiming that his biggest fear was Baby Joe Clyde trying to get out of their house, and that he left the house once at age 1. Joseph Ray also mentioned that something about Baby Joe was that he just wanted to escape. He also said that when Baby Joe peed on the floor, he did not spank him, yell at him, or do anything else to him. He claimed that he just went back to bed. Security footage was then shown of Joseph Ray Daniels inside a Dollar General near their home, shopping with his wife Krystal. Joseph Ray had been wearing a t-shirt with a green alien on the front. Next, the surveillance footage was shown of a home on Prute Springs Road, which is approximately 400 yards away from where the Daniels lived. The footage shows somebody arriving at the Daniels household around 10 p.m. after Baby Joe had disappeared. In the morning, hours before this night, lights were seen outside of the Daniels household, which seemed to be of a car leaving the home. This person who arrived at 10 p.m. was identified as a neighbor named Matthew Ledford. On April 4th of that morning, Detective McCartney interviewed this neighbor and asked him if there was anyone whom was at the home that did not live there. He responded that there was no one else there, which meant that the person driving away from the home was most likely one of the Daniels. This neighbor also claimed that he was not at the house early that morning. The trial wrapped up for the day once again. On the trial's 4th day, the interview of Baby Joe's brother, Alex, was brought up to the jurors. In this interview, that had been recorded in 2018, Alex was 8 years old and said that he had been sleeping with Baby Joe in their grandparents' bedroom, because they were not home that night. He told detectives that baby Joe woke up in the middle of the night and peed on the bedroom floor. In this interview, Alex tells the detectives that their father came into the room and calmly told them to go back to bed. Alex was called to testify and claimed that he only partially told the truth in that interview. He did confirm that baby Joe peed on the floor, but said that his father did not walk in calmly. Alex said that he went inside and beat baby Joe. He also said that after a while, he and his other brother, Noah, went back to bed. They then heard a loud bang noise that woke them up. Alex said that he did not leave the bedroom immediately after waking up because he was waiting for things to calm down. He eventually did and saw baby Joe lying on the ground before their father, Joseph Ray, carried him out the door. At this time, Alex's other brother, Noah, and his aunt Joyce were in the living room. Their mother, Krystal, on the other hand, was in the kitchen. Alex snuck out of the house and watched his father continue to carry baby Joe and then set him on the ground. He claimed that their father walked down the driveway, turned right, and continued walking with baby Joe. At this point, Alex went back to bed. The defense then cross-examined Alex and asked him if he lied in his 2018 interview with detectives. Alex responded that he did not lie all the way. He said that he only lied about the claim he made, accusing his mother Krystal of coming into their bedroom to tuck him and his brother Noah in bed while Joseph Ray carried baby Joe out there. Alex claimed that he just lied to protect his father from getting into any trouble. Alex's testimony concluded. He had been subpoenaed months earlier. The prosecutors did not charge him with lying to detectives because he did later help out with the case, and thanks to him, detectives were able to continue their investigation. 2 more interviews were shown that had been conducted to Alex in 2018 by Child Advocacy Center forensic interviewer Jessica Tiger. In these interviews, Alex claimed that he had been asleep multiple times when baby Joe was missing. At this time, Alex's parents had been arrested. He claimed that he was aware that the media stated that his father was arrested for doing something bad. He also realized that baby Joe was dead and not missing. After Joseph Ray Daniels was arrested, Alex found it bittersweet. He was able to get away from most of his family members, but also disliked how his parents were in jail. Alex claimed that he would see fiends when he would wake up on the night that baby Joe disappeared. He saw Krystal in the hallway while Joseph Ray Daniels had been carrying baby Joe out of the house. Krystal then asked Alex if that's what he wants to happen to him as well. Alex replied no. After the interviews were shown, the trial ended for the day. On the 5th day of the trial, Dixon County Bail and Bond Agent Jenny Jones was called to testify. Agent Jones said that she coincidentally lived in the same street as the Daniels family. She said that on the night baby Joe disappeared, she was driving back from dropping off a jail inmate at his home after he had posted bond to be released. On her way back home, she drove over a bridge around 1:30 a.m. where she spotted Joseph Ray Daniels standing there looking straight ahead. The defense then cross-examined her and asked when she contacted the authorities to report him. Agent Jones said that after she had seen the news reports of baby Joe missing, she immediately contacted authorities. She did not remember whether Joseph Ray was looking over a guardrail at the time, but did say that she never saw a vehicle or dead child. Agent Jones claimed that she wasn't sure whether he was looking at her or a tree. She was shortly after dismissed from the trial. The video of Joseph Ray Daniels confessing to killing his son was then shown. The two TBI agents interrogating him were Jason Boyd and Ronnie Faulkner. Boyd was called to testify. He claimed that he denied all allegations of beating Joe Clyde in his interview. However, Boyd then had him tell the truth, and in the end he did confess to beating baby Joe to death and leaving his body in a nearby road. The other agent, Ronnie Faulkner, commented in the video that there was no doubt something had happened to baby Joe. During the interview, Joseph Ray Daniels started crying loudly and uncontrollably. He later asked why and apologized, saying that he didn't mean for this to happen. Boyd also claimed that Joseph Ray had been wearing a t-shirt with an alien on it at the time of his interrogation. The defense then asked Boyd why did agents choose to interrogate Joseph Ray Daniels and not question the law enforcement officials who believed he was lying. Boyd said that he is allowed to do that and that he did not want to keep authorities from finding baby Joe. He was then asked if he was aware that Joseph Ray Daniels had taken medications for mental health issues before his interrogation. Boyd claimed that even if he had been taking medications for mental health issues, he had two options: to properly discipline baby Joe for peeing on the floor, or to do it inappropriately, and he chose to kill him. The following day, Dixon County Sheriff's Office Detective Trevor Daniel testified in the trial. He was not related to the family whatsoever. He claimed that he had been in Joseph Ray's car when he was taking him to see where he had been searching for baby Joe. He then said that he did not want this to happen and that he wanted his wife to know he was sorry. This detective mentioned that he had planned to question the other family members about the disappearance and that Joseph Ray had mentioned that he was once an IT who would fix computers for the Dixon Police Department in a former job that he had. Recordings of these conversations were shown in the courtroom. A group of TBI investigators then came into the courtroom. They showed the jury several blood and DNA samples that had been collected at the Daniels family household. The investigators then explained that they used chemicals to detect substances that could have been blood. Marks from the chemical were found. One of the jurors asked them if the marks were found from urine or juice. They answered that these samples were not tested for urine or blood, so that answer was unknown. They did say that according to their tests, DNA of Joseph Ray Daniels was found inside the house, and that both him and his wife's DNA were found inside his car. She explained how she found fibers in the field where baby Joe was being searched for, and compared them to the other fibers found inside the shovel in Joseph Ray's car. This meant that he was believed to have buried baby Joe after beating him to death. However, there was no direct evidence to confirm that these were Joseph Ray's fragments. On day 7 of the trial, the state rested. The defense continued on with testimony and called TBI agent Zach Burkhart. Burkhart claimed that he had collected data from Joseph Ray's laptop and that days before baby Joe disappeared, he had been applying for jobs. When one of the companies which he had applied for asked for Joseph Ray's college records days after the disappearance, Joseph Ray is believed to have contacted the Nashville State Community College to request them, instead of continuing to look for his son and leaving other plans pending. The jury was then shown Facebook conversations from data that had been extracted from the device of baby Joe's brother Alex. The conversation consisted of Krystal Daniels and a Wichita, Kansas user who lived near her mother in the state. In this conversation, Krystal seemed to have been planning a trip with Alex to Kansas in order to see her mother. Krystal also claimed that she had ripped up the marriage license between her and Joseph Ray, and that she had her divorce papers ready. This man, whom she was chatting with, is believed to be Thomas Richards, who was going to be her new boyfriend at the time. Agent Burkhart also claimed that the light leaving the Daniels family home in the security footage was off a car. As the defense ended the testimony early, the prosecution jumped in and questioned him as well. The agent was asked about Joseph Ray's multiple trips to Lowe's. He was believed to have made a purchase at 2:30 a.m., and about 18 minutes later, he returned to the Lowe's store, making another purchase at 3:09 a.m. He also spent approximately 6 minutes talking to employees. The defense rested their case as well. The following day, Judge Wolf confirmed that closing arguments were able to begin and that jury instructions were written. Joseph Ray refused to testify. The following day, the closing arguments were held. The prosecution claimed that baby Joe had a delayed mindset and that he was making good progress. But it all came to an end when Joseph Ray discovered his wife Krystal's conversations with another man whom she had been cheating on him with, which made him angry and eventually led him to killing baby Joe. The defense claimed that the prosecution had been presenting a hoax and that many law enforcement agencies had been looking for a living boy, not a dead boy. They also stated that the claim that baby Joe could not leave the house due to his age and mental state was an overreaction by the prosecution. After closing arguments ended, Judge David Wolf read the jury instructions. The jurors afterwards were dismissed to deliberate. The jury asked to rewatch the video of Joseph Ray's confession. It was then played to them. On this day, they failed to reach a verdict. However, the next day, deliberations continued and a verdict was reached. This was on Saturday, June 12, 2021. He was found not guilty of first-degree murder, guilty of felony murder, guilty of aggravated abuse, guilty of filing a false report, and guilty of tampering with evidence. The jury confirmed that this was their verdict. They were as well thanked by the judge for their service. Judge Wolf then set sentencing for September 14, 2021. Joseph Ray Daniels then appealed his case. A month later, the trial date for his wife Krystal was set. It was scheduled to begin in February 2022. Before the sentencing of Joseph Ray, Judge Wolf asked the attorneys to call more witnesses in order to deliver an appropriate sentence. On September 14, 2021, the sentencing was officially held for Joseph Ray Daniels. His mental health records were presented, and his aunt testified that he had lots of anger. Joseph Ray Daniels refused to speak at his sentencing. He was sentenced to life in prison, with the possibility of parole after serving at least 51 years of the sentence. Another 9 years were added to that sentence for other charges, which were combined together. However, this other sentence was ordered to be run concurrently and be served at the same time as the life sentence. No parole hearing has been set for him, and he is most likely to die in prison due to his age and the length of the sentence. He was admitted into the Bledsoe County Correctional Complex for evaluation to see in which prison he would serve his sentence in. Joseph Ray was then placed in the Northeast Correctional Complex, where he is currently serving his sentence. In 2023, the appeal for his case was rejected and he was denied a new trial. The case was then transferred over to Tennessee's Appeals Court, who rejected the appeal on January 6, 2025. The main judge rejecting the appeal was Camille McMullen. Joseph Ray's defense team has agreed to continue on with the appeal. It will either be heard by the United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C., to see if they could overturn the conviction, or have the Innocence Project look over the case and see if the charges could be dismissed. The Innocence Project has agreed to review this case and might start working on it, but nothing is for sure at this point. On Strawberry Inc.'s YouTube channel, I will let you know what happens. Now, let's get back to the story. After his sentencing, Krystal Daniels as well appeared in court. Prosecutors announced more charges against her. The new charges were aggravated abuse, conspiracy to commit aggravated abuse or neglect, filing a false report, and tampering or fabricating evidence. Both sides chose to not have any additional pretrial hearings for these new charges. Judge Wolf stood with his decision in allowing her trial to be live-streamed. However, the trial was delayed for another month because one of the witnesses, Daniel McCormick, who saw Krystal and Joseph Ray Daniels outside their house, was found dead. He died from complications of rheumatoid arthritis. Another reason to delay the trial was because the prosecutor, Ray Crouch, tested positive for COVID. Krystal Daniels then requested to take a plea deal. On March 16, 2022, Krystal's plea deal was accepted and she pleaded no contest to the charges. Judge David Wolf immediately sentenced her to 15 years in prison, and the trial was canceled. She was admitted into the Deborah Johnson Rehabilitation Center to be evaluated and assigned to a state prison. Krystal was then placed in the West Tennessee Penitentiary, where she is currently serving her sentence. Baby Joe is still missing to this day, as the story says, and he has not had a funeral after all these years. Do you think Baby Joe is still alive, or do you think he's dead? Let me know in the comments. If Baby Joe is dead, may he rest in peace. May the deceased witness, Matthew McCormick, as well rest in peace. He did have a funeral. Both his service and visitation was held at the Minot Funeral Home in Knoxville, Tennessee. Thank you for listening, and please share this podcast to someone you know who may love true crime. Don't forget to follow the podcast and like this episode for more content. Till next time, goodbye.